It appears that President Joe Biden might be willing to cave to Republicans when it comes to infrastructure. So now Biden has been pushing an infrastructure plan, which is about $2 trillion, badly needed for this country. However, well, Republicans, they don't want to do that. And so Republicans have to thank Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema for making it basically impossible for Joe Biden to pass that infrastructure bill. So now he's trying to get Republican votes by offering a compromise, which is pissing off progressives. So now, let me give you the details on that. So Biden, his compromise offer to Senate Republicans on infrastructure would leave the corporate tax rate of 15% established under the Trump administration and make it permanent, while also cutting the original $2.2 trillion American Jobs Plan in half. So corporate tax rates stay the same, and we only get half of infrastructure. When in reality, of course, we should get like a $4 trillion infrastructure deal. But no, not going to happen. Jesus. All right. So now, as the Washington Post reported on Thursday, Biden signaled during a closed-door meeting with the GOP's top infrastructure negotiator that he would be open to significant revisions of the size of his infrastructure package and how it would be paid for in order to try to get Republican support, outlining a plan for about $1 trillion in new spending, financed through tax changes that do not appear to raise the corporate tax rate. Now, that is, of course, a red flag because, well, they're not going to tax the rich. Where's the money going to come from? If you're middle class, you might end up getting stuck with the bill. Instead of hiking the corporate tax rate to 28%, as he originally had promised and proposed in his original package, the president floated the minimum corporate tax rate of 15% aimed at profitable companies that pay little to no in federal taxes. 15%. Now, 15% is lower than the average middle class person has to pay in taxes. Why is that even on the table? Again, not only are you going to offer to cut your plan in half, which is half the investment that it was that it was going to, when already $2.2 trillion was the compromise. Now you're going to compromise it even further just to give Republicans also exactly what they want on taxes when you had the majority. Why? If we're going to give Republicans everything that they want, why not just vote Republican? That's again, I'm not saying that, but what's the point? What's the point? This is not what we elected Democrats to do. And I understand Biden is handicapped by Congress. I get it, right? Well, that's why you use the bully pulpit. That's why you say, hey, Joe Manchin, you better vote with us or we're going to make your life incredibly difficult politically. All right? Because we have the tools, we have the opportunities to be able to do that, to make it very, very hard for you to get reelected. Maybe we'll support a progressive primary challenger to you. They could do that, but they choose not to, of course. And they could do the same to Kirsten Sinema. But no. We must protect our precious Joe Manchin. We can't allow any sort of challenge to him because, West Virginia. All right. So again, Republicans, and here's the other infuriating part about this. And there's so much that just irritates me. But like, you have Republicans that are already on the record of saying our number one goal is to make sure that Biden gets nothing done whatsoever. There will be no bipartisanship. You will give us whatever we want, and you'll do it now. And you'll still get nothing that you want because we're not at all interested in giving you any sort of victory. See, it's maddening because whenever Republicans are in charge, well, they get what they want. But when Democrats are in charge, Republicans still get what they want. So, and I mean more money for cops. That is not something that progressives and Democrats want. More money for the military, more money for ICE, more tax breaks for corporations. I will never forget and forgive that it was Barack Obama that made most of Bush tax cuts permanent. And now, oh, look at that. We're going to keep the corporate tax rate that you promised to raise. No, we're going to keep it at 15%. During the Obama administration, it was 35%. Biden, even before then, Biden was like, oh, no, 28%, good enough. Yeah, we're not going to raise it to 35%. No. We're going to raise it to only 28%. So we're not even going to go back to Obama levels for corporate tax rates. And he won't even do that. Won't even do that. Nope, 15%. Here's our offer. Well, then what was the goddamn point? No $15 minimum wage, no public option, no changes to prescription drug prices, which is incredibly easy to do. Oh, hell, something that he could do without Congress that he's refusing to do. Student loans. Not going to cancel student loans, which he could. No, not going to do anything. Not even $10,000 in student loans, which is barely even enough. He's not going to do that. Nothing. Nada. Not going to do a goddamn thing on any of those fronts. I mean, the American Family Plan, the American Jobs Plan, they're good. They could go pretty further, but guess what? It's moot at this point, okay? Because if you don't end the filibuster and get past Republican obstruction with the slim majority that you have, and you do that by standing up to Manchin and bullying him into supporting your agenda and the party's agenda overall, then you might as well give up everything because it's not going to happen. And if it, and by the way, the other thing is, if you try to negotiate with Republicans, obviously they're bad faith actors, but what are you going to do? You're going to cut your plan down to just about nothing. So it's not going to do any good anyway. And that happens every single time. And when you do that, you can't really celebrate much of a win. And when you don't have any wins, you lose the majority because you've done nothing. And so you're going to get rewarded with nothing. And Republicans will run on that, and they'll say, don't worry, we can do stuff. Elect us. Put us back into power. Trust me, it'll work this time. We'll cut taxes on the rich, and we'll deregulate, and somehow that will help the rest of us. We've all seen this movie before. We've lived through this movie. It is the same playbook that continues to lead the country further and further to the right, and I'm so incredibly tired of it. And progressives are calling it out as well. Representative Jamal Bowman, in a statement, said this: if what we've read is true, I would have a very difficult time voting yes on this bill. Look, good words. I kind of want to see some action here. I would love to see Bowman say, and use his vote to say, absolutely not. So again, it is the actions that are most important here. But more from Bowman. He says $2 trillion was already the compromise. President Biden can't expect us to vote for an infrastructure deal dictated by the Republican Party. The crises we face are immense and urgent. We have an economic crisis, a climate crisis, and a racial injustice crisis. We have a historic opportunity to act, and history will not judge us kindly if we let it pass us by. Well, look, the pandemic would have been a fantastic opportunity to get Medicare for all, or at least push for that public option. And obviously, that didn't happen. Biden completely forgot about the public option. Just not doing it anymore. The pursuit of Republican votes. This is the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which again needs to do more than just tweet. They need to exercise some power. But here's what they said. The pursuit of Republican votes cannot come at the expense of necessary, urgent, and popular investments. For a just, equitable package that meets the moment, both physical and social infrastructure are essential. Progressives will not be forced to choose between them. Unfortunately, we're probably going to end up seeing exactly that happen. Again, call me a pessimist, but this is what's going to happen. Unfortunately. But they continue. Americans overwhelmingly support raising corporate taxes, especially when used as pay for. This is Morris Pearl of Patriotic Millionaires. They said that while we are generally supportive of tax minimums, the compromise the Biden administration is reportedly offering on corporate taxes is not good enough. Americans overwhelmingly support raising corporate taxes, especially when used as a pay for. The bipartisan majority of American voters backing him in this issue, President Biden must stand strong on all aspects of his plan to raise corporate taxes. Corporations and Republicans in Congress should not get to drive the debate on corporate taxes when they stand opposed to any increases at all. Representative Ro Khanna also told HuffPost, I disagree with the decision to remove the increase in the corporate tax rate from infrastructure discussions. The American people overwhelmingly support making corporations pay their fair share. $1 trillion is a non-starter, Evan Weber, political director of the youth-led Sunrise Movement, said. In response, the president should be meeting with the young people who elected him, not the party who is abetting the lie that he wasn't even duly elected. Are our futures negotiable? Well, apparently for Biden, anything's negotiable, except for, of course, progressive priorities. What can be done, right? Well, I mean, there's a couple of options. Reconciliation. You just ignore Republicans. You set up a reconciliation bill. You're not going to get everything you want out of it, obviously, because there's some things that you can't go through reconciliation. But like budgetary matters, they absolutely can. So you could do that and ignore Republicans. And I know, but what about bipartisanship? The media will scream, bipartisanship, because they have a hard-on for it. Well, they might, but the American people don't. Nobody cares about bipartisanship. In fact, according to recent polling by Data for Progress, a majority, 58% of American voters, would support passage of the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan, Biden's signature policy positions, the $1.8 trillion safety net expansion, using budget reconciliation. We're basically cutting Republicans out because they're obstructionists. They say, we like these plans. If Republicans don't want to pass them, well, then sad day for them. Because we support this and we want you to pass it. Nobody cares about bipartisanship. Only the elites in Washington, only the people in the media in the cocktail circuit give a shit about bipartisanship. And Joe Manchin, who wants to get his ass kissed from both sides. Okay, bipartisanship right now is an absolute joke. And by the way, look at the bipartisan counteroffer. Okay, Shelley Moore Capito, the Republican negotiator, outlined an infrastructure counterproposal that called for a total of $257 billion in spending. No spending for green energy, no spending for elder care. So fuck the climate and fuck older people. And then, well, that's our offer. So basically, fuck everybody. Well, that's a terrible offer. It's beyond a joke. It's an insult. You can thank Joe Manchin again for that, who indicated on Thursday that he has no interest in pursuing an infrastructure bill with only Democratic support. Sinema also at this point, quadrupled down on defending the filibuster and making sure that basically we get nothing done. Nothing. Manchin told NBC News, quote, basically, we need to be bipartisan. No, you can take your bipartisanship and shove it up your ass. You are right-wing trash. You are garbage. You are literally standing in the way of, millions of Americans getting needed relief and infrastructure being built, roads, bridges, all that stuff. Elder care. Joe Manchin is also saying, fuck old people. Yeah. And he's giving Republicans political cover as well. Look, maybe it sounds cliche, but at this point, Joe Manchin is essentially an op. Okay? Right-wing conservative inside the Democratic Party, giving aid and comfort to Republicans and helps them block anything that happens. He is only out for himself, and apparently he has more interest in protecting the Republican Party than actually supporting Democratic efforts to make the country better. And that's really it. In a statement on Thursday, Bowman also countered that, quote, Republicans have given Democratic governance the middle finger since the day President Biden was inaugurated. We can't and won't reward them by keeping Donald Trump's corporate tax cuts in place and slashing our infrastructure package in half. No Republican vote in favor of infrastructure package should supersede our mission to build an America that works for the people, not for massive corporations. Getting Republicans on board is not necessary. Getting the American people back on their feet is. And look, I like the words. That's great. I totally agree with it. But I got to see some action, right? And not really on behalf so much of Bowman, because, again, he's out there. He's challenging Joe Manchin to get off his ass. But really, the pressure needs to come from Biden. How do you get Manchin and Sinema to go along with the rest of the party? Well, I got an idea. You threaten their funding. You threaten their re-election chances. You shouldn't be getting money and votes, as a Democrat, if you're not going to be a Democrat. If you're not going to actually help the majority of the party in some of their positions. And you might be saying this, but okay, well, then what about people like, progressives that buck the party trend to try to go in a progressive direction? But understand that tactic's already been used against progressives in the past and gets used all the time. For example, no DNC funding to progressives that run primary challenges against other Democrats, not allowing them to get access to the NGP van mailing lists, things like, that resources that help people, really conduct primary challenges against establishment Democrats. They love using those strong-arm tactics against progressive legislators. But Joe Manchin, again, apparently he must be special because he's Democrat from West Virginia. And therefore, the conventional thinking is, well, obviously we need him. We need to keep our majority, even though he's actually hindering the majority from actually getting anything done. We can't let him lose, though. Well, what's the point? If protecting him makes it so that we end up losing the majority anyway, because he blocked everything from getting done, then what's the point? No, look, Biden and the DNC, they have the power to pressure Manchin using the tools they have, mainly funding, access to donors, things like that, but they refuse to use them to try to pressure him. And that, unfortunately, is going to cost him and will ultimately cost us both. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.